I'm Rabbi Baruch Levi, also known as Rabbi B. Welcome to Soul-Centered. Soul-Centered, as you can see the sign behind me, is a center for loss, for meaning, and for healing. We're based in Denver, Colorado, but we work with people all around the world, guiding people through counseling and coaching programs around loss, all kinds of loss. My area of expertise and passion is around grief, as well as meaning and guiding people through life's transitions, all kinds of transitions, helping them cultivate spirit and move forward to center their soul. And my wife Ariella works with people in those areas, as well as specializing in physical, emotional, and spiritual healing. So this is an experience. We have soul-centered counseling and soul-centered experiences, and this is one of the many experiences we're offering. It's called Transforming Tragedy. It's a video series. It's been inspired by Omaha, Nebraska. The Jewish Family Service Executive Director, Karen Gustafson, and I were in conversation, and she said, why don't you create a video series to connect with the folks in Omaha? I'm born and bred in Omaha. It's my homeland, my people, and so I wanted to connect with them, but not just with them, not just with the Jewish community, the larger community, as well as the world. So this is Transforming Tragedy, and we're going to be taking on all kinds of hopefully interesting and inspiring conversations that the coronavirus and the new reality that we're all finding ourselves in and living within is presenting to us. And I always believe there's meaning to be had in any given set of circumstances. I learned that from my teacher and mentor, Dr. Viktor Frankl, author of Man's Search for Meaning and the father of logotherapy, meaning-centered therapy. And his thesis and my thesis, I believe the world's thesis should be that there is meaning, and our opportunity is to go into it and to discover what it means to us. So I gave a version of this particular talk called The American Way. It is a longer format, but I decided to redo this based on some responses I got, not the least of which was it was a PowerPoint, and I was just kind of a little picture in the corner. So this one is doing it without the PowerPoint, and it's definitely shorter, but hopefully you'll stick with it. So I'm going to begin with just a pop quiz. What do all the following have in common? It kind of is a better flow with the PowerPoint. You can still watch that online, but bear with me. The Chrysler Building, the Empire State Building, the Rockefeller Center, Hoover Dam, Golden Gate Bridge, the Supreme Court Building, the Lincoln Tunnel, LaGuardia Airport, Triborough Bridge, 97,000 miles of road, 125,000, more than that, public buildings, 3 billion trees, 700 state parks, 853 landing fields, all here in America. What do they all have in common? I'm just going to jump straight to the end. Again, you want more drama? You can watch the longer version. They were all built roughly between 1929 and 1939. And you don't have to be a history buff to know that that was the era of the Great Depression. The Great Depression. Why is this significant? Because right here, right now, we're facing our own challenges, our own tragedies, different than the Great Depression, but very real, very painful. Too many lives have been lost. Economic struggle, to say the least, right? Potentially devastation. More lives probably will be lost. More devastation will come. It isn't the same as the Great Depression and other horrific moments in the past, but it is important to heed the words of Paul Harvey, former radio talk show host and commentator back in the day. And he had news commentator, and he had a saying, a great saying that is well known, and I really turn to it in times like these. And it goes, in times like these, it's important to remember there have always been times like these. And I want to really talk about in the remaining time we have times like these, because times like these, we have precedent, great precedent as an American. And I am a proud American and believe deeply in this country of America and the examples that we can learn from our ancestors, from those who come before us as Americans. Look at the folks who lived through the Great Depression and then fought in World War II, and call them certainly the World War II generation, the greatest generation. I think of my grandpa Jack Brody, spent some of his remaining years in Omaha, Nebraska. He was an example of the greatest generation. Or my grandmother, Florence Brody. They each served during the time of the war effort. My grandfather fought over in Nazi Germany, fighting the Nazis, liberating concentration camps. My grandmother served in the war effort, working to do her part with her sister Louise. The bottom line, we call them the greatest generation because of their efforts during that time of Great Depression or World War II or national world trauma and tragedy. And they stepped up. They rose to the occasion. What made them the greatest generation? My teacher, Dr. Viktor Frankl, really talks about two primary ingredients and certainly embodied by the greatest generation. One is self-determination. They exercised their free will. They made a choice, right? No matter how bad things were, they chose and they believed in the power of choice. That's something my grandpa taught me over and over again, right? That we have this ability to choose and we need to exercise it and to make good decisions, to make good choices, as Dr. Frankl says, to go beyond ourselves, or self-transcendence. That is one of the defining characteristics of the greatest generation, of the greatest individuals. Or these are men and women who make a choice to transcend themselves, to get past themselves, to serve something bigger than themselves. And I believe we need, in times like these, to look back at my grandpa, my grandma, your grandparents, your great-grandparents, maybe some of you, to look at them and see how they exercise that ability to choose, no matter how bad the circumstances were then, no matter how dire they might seem now. Dr. Frankl says this is the last of human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's way, no matter how bad it might be out there, whether it was the Great Depression or the Great Recession or the coronavirus. We always can choose our response, our attitude, our way. That's ours. And we can also choose to get beyond ourselves, to go beyond ourselves, and to embody the qualities of the greatest generation. I believe it's a shame to leave them as the greatest generation. I believe my grandma, my grandpa, and your loved ones want us to become the next greatest generation. That's what I see happening. I don't just see the gloom and the doom when you watch the news or when you listen to social media. That's all you're going to hear. But there are so many examples of this generation rising up, hearing the call, and becoming the greatest generation. People on the front lines in the healthcare industry, risking life and limb. Delivery folks, I just saw an Amazon guy go by. People delivering packages, making sure that our society and our economy and our connections continue. Grocery store clerks, right? These are heroes showing up, making sure that we have groceries and manufacturing and just you and me staying at home. It is not easy. Now we're beyond a month at this point to refrain from going out into the world, but we're doing that because it's not about me and it's not about you. It's about us. It is about a community and a society, and we are keeping people safe. We are saving lives by staying home. We're doing our part in a war effort, and this is a war, a silent war, but a deadly war. I say all this because we can't leave the greatest generation in the past. We owe it to our grandparents and those who came before us to continue to rise up and be the next greatest generation. My friends, this is our defining moment. Our children, our children's children, yet to be born generations are going to look back and they're going to study this. The question is, will they be looking to us as the next greatest generation, or will they be looking at us and validating that we were self-absorbed and self-concerned and self-consumed? I don't believe that's how they're going to look back on us. The jury's still out, right? We still have a choice to make. My hope and prayer for all of us is that no matter how difficult this gets, we remember that we always have a choice. We can always choose our own way, and we can choose to continue to rise up, to see ourselves as part of something bigger than ourselves, and to continue to serve. In times like these, there will always be times like these. Remember who you are. Remember where you've come from. Remember what each of us must do to choose our own way, to self-sacrifice, to self-transcend, and to continue to make this the greatest country on God's planet, the United States of America. And I believe that with every ounce of my being. Let's continue to build buildings and turn this difficult time into an opportunity, if not for ourselves, then for the next greatest generation. Thank you. God bless. Take care.